Today on the Texas Tribune Weekend Insider. After DNA evidence linked Mark Norwood to the murder of Christine Morton 25 years ago, he is expected to face trial. Brandy Grissom discusses the challenges of trying old cases. The war on Capitol Hill on how to fight online piracy has reached Texas. The battle brewing is over how the proposed regulations on internet businesses will affect the state's booming technology sector.
For the last 25 years, Christine Morton's husband, Michael Morton, has been in prison. He was convicted of her murder back in 1987. But last year, new DNA evidence showed that Morton actually was innocent of the murder. And instead, it linked this man, Mark Norwood, who has a felony history, to the murder of Christine Morton. And so he's since been charged with her murder, and he's now awaiting trial. A hearing is expected in his case next week. So there are really numerous challenges that lawyers on both sides face, both prosecutors and defense lawyers, in trying these cases where the crimes happened decades ago. In many cases, witnesses have moved on, or in some cases they've even died. And even if those witnesses can be found, lawyers say they have a really hard time piecing together the facts of what happened because by now their memories have changed, their stories have changed, the way they view the facts has changed because the crime happened so long ago. In addition, there are problems with how evidence was stored. Evidence back in the 1980s was stored in a very different way than it is today. Back then they didn't know about DNA technology. They didn't know necessarily how to store that evidence in order to preserve it. So there are all these questions that come up for both prosecutors and defense lawyers as they try to make these cases to the juries. It's unclear right now whether Mr. Norwood will face the death penalty in this trial. What defense lawyers that I've talked to have said is that they have real concerns about the death penalty being on the table in these kinds of cases where the crimes happened so long ago, and because of the potential difficulties in finding witnesses and evidence and preparing a trial that's fair for both sides.
It's already illegal for U.S. companies to host illegal or pirated content. Most of the pirated content that American consumers have access to is put out there by foreign websites. And these people operate outside the jurisdiction of U.S. courts, so law enforcement can't go after them. So the Stop Online Privacy Act is trying to put out of business these foreign websites that are profiting off of selling illegal and counterfeit goods, such as fake pharmaceuticals, which can be harmful to American consumers, and pirated entertainment, like movies and music. The way that the bill goes after them is by allowing a third party to get a court order to basically block all business with U.S. companies. So Google would have to cut them out of their search engines, PayPal would have to stop allowing payment transactions, and companies like Rackspace would have to stop hosting them on their servers and block U.S. customers' access to those websites. Rackspace is a cloud computing company, and they host other websites on their servers. So they have about 160,000 customers, and they say a quarter of their business is overseas. So if it was determined that one of these websites that they're hosting was potentially hosting infringing content, they would be ordered by a U.S. court to block and censor that customer from the internet. These companies think that they've been underrepresented in the legislative process. You know, at the original hearing, Google was the only company opposed who is allowed to act as a witness, and they say that so far the entertainment industry has had a bigger say than they have. But the legislative process isn't over yet. The bill's still in committee, and there's room for it to change.